Whenever we talk about AI and jobs, the headlines are always screaming about programmers and software developers. But what if that's just a tiny, tiny fraction of the real story? What if the biggest changes are happening where nobody's even looking? The best way to think about it is like an iceberg. We all see that tip sticking out of the water. The headlines, the tech jobs being restructured, that's what gets all the attention. But the real story, the part with the most weight and the biggest impact, is that massive chunk of ice hidden deep below the surface. So let's start with the part everyone thinks they know. Let's talk about that visible tip of the iceberg, which is all about what's happening in the tech industry. I mean, you see it everywhere, right? We hear constantly about how AI is transforming software development. Companies are totally rethinking their hiring for programmers because AI systems are already cranking out over 1 billion lines of code every single day. This is the disruption we can see, the one that's easy to measure. And if you put a number on it, this visible disruption, the one everyone's talking about, it affects about 2.2% of the skills our economy actually pays for. Researchers call this the surface index. And yeah, it's a big deal, but it's really just a small slice of the overall picture. And here's the thing. This impact isn't spread out evenly. It's all clustered in those predictable coastal tech hubs. States like Washington, Virginia, and California. This just feeds the narrative that AI's job impact is a tech problem. But as we're about to see, that is a dangerously incomplete picture. And that narrow focus is where the real problem starts. See, the economic tools we use to map our worlds, they were built for a completely different era. When it comes to the AI economy, they're basically leaving us flying blind. Think about it this way. Our traditional census data is amazing at tracking the physical economy, like manufacturing jobs in a specific factory. But the AI economy, it doesn't have a zip code. There's no official job category for human AI teams. It's a massive, massive blind spot in our data. And, this isn't the first time this has happened. Every single major economic revolution has forced us to invent new ways to measure what's valuable. The industrial era gave us output per hour. The internet era gave us digital economy accounts. So now, for this new intelligence era, we need something different. A new metric that's centered on skills, not just job titles. So to solve this problem, researchers at MIT and Oak Ridge National Laboratory decided that if the old maps don't work, well, we need to build a new one. They developed a whole new approach called Project Iceberg, and it was designed specifically to build a new lens that lets us peer right into this economic blind spot. And at the very heart of their work is this new metric, the Iceberg Index. Now, this isn't about job losses or robots taking over. Instead, it measures the overlap between the skills we humans have and the tasks AI can already do. And it weights all of that by its economic value. It shows us exactly where the potential for change is the greatest. And the sheer scale of this project is, well, it's just mind-blowing. First, they mapped out the skills of the entire U.S. workforce. That's over 151 million people. Then, they analyzed the capabilities of more than 13,000 different AI tools. And finally, they simulated 2.5 billion interactions between them to see where everything lines up. Okay, so with this powerful new lens, we can finally look below the surface. And what they found, well, it completely changes the entire story of AI's reach into our economy. Remember that 2.2%, that visible tip of the iceberg we started with? It turns out that is only a tiny, tiny fraction of the story. When we look at the full Iceberg Index, the true scale of AI's reach becomes crystal clear. It's not 2.2%, it's 11.7%. That hidden mass is more than 5 times larger than the part we see in the headlines. And this exposure isn't in coding or software. No, it's in cognitive and administrative work. We're talking finance, HR, logistics, professional services, the very backbone of pretty much every industry. And this new map tells a totally different story. Unlike that first one, this exposure isn't just on the coasts, it's spread across the entire country. In fact, because they have such large financial and administrative sectors, states like South Dakota and Delaware actually show higher exposure than tech-heavy California. Wild, right? This leads to what the report calls the automation surprise. You've got states in the industrial heartland with very low visible tech risk, but their hidden risk in all those white-collar support jobs is absolutely massive. In some cases, it's up to 10 times higher. It's a wave of change they might not see coming, all because they're looking in the wrong place. So what does this all mean? We have this brand new, way more complete map of the AI economy. It's a total game changer, but what can we actually do with it? Why does it matter to policymakers and business leaders? Well, the simple and frankly kind of scary answer is that the tools we've been relying on for decades are failing us. They are failing to predict this new reality, they're steering us completely wrong, and the data proves it. The researchers actually put our old metrics to the test. They checked if things like GDP, income, or unemployment rates could predict this hidden exposure. The result? Nope, not even close. None of them could explain more than 5% of what was actually happening. They are effectively useless for seeing what's right around the corner. And this brings us to the most critical conclusion. Our old metrics are looking backwards. Sure, they can see the tech disruption that's already happening, but they are completely blind to the much, much larger wave of white-collar automation that AI is bringing to the entire nation. But here's the good news. This new map isn't just a warning, it's an incredibly powerful planning tool. With it, leaders can assess the real risks, they can identify strategic opportunities, and they can target investments in training and infrastructure right where they'll have the most impact. It lets them test out policies and see what might happen before committing billions of dollars. So for the very first time, we can see the whole iceberg, both the tip above the water and the enormous mass hidden beneath. The question is no longer, what are we missing? The question now is, are we prepared to navigate these new waters?